Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 49ers Golden Ticket. My name is Gabriel, and today I do want to take a quick moment to thank some of our fans who have really taken time out of their days to continue to support us, leave comments and input, and just help get us through our first full season covering the Niners. Fans like longtime Niner fan, Thomas Luttrell, Spaceman on Earth, Ali Hassan, Bobby Mira, and Red X Sage. Thank you guys. It really has made a difference for us, and we greatly appreciate it. So the 49ers made the playoffs, everyone. I don't know if you had heard, but I know it's something that we've kind of been waiting on now for a few weeks because the Niners clinched their playoff spot a few weeks ago and has since kind of been on cruise control, at least on the defensive side of the ball. We do have to talk about that, whether the defense has actually fallen off or if they just weren't as motivated because that number one seed did seem a little bit out of reach. We got to talk about the job John Lynch is doing and his bid for Executive of the Year. We're going to use our quarterback play-by-playback to recap that Week 18 victory over the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to take a look at Brock Purdy and what his playoffs might look like and his path to the Super Bowl might be. And then, of course, we're going to look into the keys of victory against the Seattle Seahawks for the wildcard round of the playoffs. Stay tuned. All right, you guys made it to the quarterback play-by-playback. This is where we take a look at the game from the quarterback position while still attempting to highlight some of the big plays and game-changing plays along the way. Of course, as always, if you have any input or suggestions for this segment, I would love to hear about it because this is a segment that we are trying to grow and make a staple of the show because it's an attempt to show the All-22 where you get a little better in-depth look at the film. Now, we can't spend a whole hour on it, but I would like to highlight some of the things you guys are looking for. As of now, this is what we have.
Opening drive here for the Cardinals. The Cardinals pitch it to Pharoh Cooper. Cooper throws it back to David Blau. Blau takes a shot deep down the field for A.J. Green. Green mosses Diamador Lenore, breaks a tackle, and makes it all the way into the end zone for a Cardinals score. Arizona misses the extra point. Cardinals up 6-0. Purdy, short middle to Juice for 26 yards. Juice, 21 yards after the catch. Purdy drops back, looking, can't find anyone, escapes the pocket a little early, scrambles for 13 yards and a first down. Purdy, short left to Ayuk for 6 yards. Purdy drops back, looking, checks it down to McCaffrey. McCaffrey turns it upfield, takes it 21 yards, bullies a couple of defenders into the end zone for a touchdown. Robbie Gould extra point is good, Niners up 7-6. David Blau drops back and is sacked for -8 yards by Ebukam and Omenahu. After the Cardinals punt on 2nd and 9, Purdy is sacked for -6 yards. J.J. Watt. Purdy on 3rd and 15, incomplete deep left to Brandon Ayuk. Cardinals here on 4th and 1, do not convert, turnover on downs, 49ers ball. Purdy, incomplete, short right to Deebo Samuel. On 3rd and 12, Purdy pushed out of the pocket by J.J. Watt and sacked by Isaiah Simmons for -17 yards. After the 49ers defense forces a 3-and-out, Purdy short middle to Ayuk for 11 yards. Purdy short left to Kittle for 9 yards. Kittle 8 yards after the catch. Purdy incomplete short right to Jawan Jennings. Purdy tries to run it here, goes right, finds no room, tripped up for -8 yards. On 3rd and 18, Purdy tries to make something happen here, leaves the pocket early, scrambles left, tries to hit George Kittle, incomplete. Just another day for Mitch Wishnowsky. He punts another beauty and pins the Cardinals at their own 13-yard line. After that beautiful punt, David Blau passes deep left intended for Hollywood Brown, intercepted by Tashawn Gibson, and Tashawn Gibson returns it to the 12-yard line. Purdy, short right to McCaffrey for 6 yards. McCaffrey, 11 yards after the catch. On 1st and goal at the 5, Elijah Mitchell up the middle for 5 yards. Touchdown, Niners. Robbie Gould extra point is good. Niners up 14-6. David Blau sacked by Nick Bosa for -5 yards. Just want to give a little love to our linebackers, Aziz and Fred here, always in position. 49ers give another one up here. Corey Clement with a 1-yard touchdown rush up the middle. Matt Prater, extra point is good. 49ers up 14-13. Purdy drops back, moves the pocket, deep middle to Ayuk for 22 yards. 49ers at the 2-minute warning. Purdy drops back, short right to Jennings for 11 yards. Purdy on 3rd and 6, short left to McCaffrey for 7 yards. Purdy, short left to Debo for 9 yards. Debo, 11 yards after the catch. 2nd and goal, Purdy, under pressure, throws a beauty to George Kittle. Kittle taps his toes, touchdown. Robbie Gould, extra point is good. 49ers up 21-13. Start of the second half, Purdy, short middle to Ayuk for 20 yards. Ayuk, 6 yards after the catch. On 2nd and 7, Purdy drops back and is once again sacked by J.J. Watt for -10 yards. On 3rd and 17, McCaffrey takes the handoff left and gets 19 yards, first down. Purdy, on play action, rolls out left, incomplete, short left to Kittle. Check out that arm angle, though. Purdy drops back, dumps it off to Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell turns up fields, gets the Jets going, and picks up 37 yards, first down. Elijah Mitchell to the left end for a 6-yard touchdown. Robbie Gould, extra point is good. 49ers up 28-13. David Blau drops back, intended deep left for Hollywood Brown again, but tipped and intercepted by again Tashawn Gibson. Gibson returns it to the Arizona 34 for 23 yards. Debo lined up in the backfield. Purdy, short left to Debo Samuel for 11 yards. Debo, 17 yards after the catch. Purdy, looking, nowhere to go. Scrambles left, fakes out the defender for 2 yards. Purdy, looking, again, nowhere to go to the ball. Sacked for -3 yards. Robbie Gould comes in for the 27-yard field goal, and it's good. 49ers up 31-13. David Blau drops back, sacked by Jordan Willis for -5 yards. He fumbles, and it's recovered by the 49ers. On 3rd and 2, Purdy, short middle to Kittle for 15 yards. 2nd and goal from the 1. Purdy up the middle for no gain. Purdy, once again being aggressive in the red zone, fakes the run, rolls right, throws to George Kittle, touchdown. Robbie Gould, extra point is good. 49ers up 38-13. On 4th and 5, McSorley, short left to Ingram for -3 yards, turnover on downs. After 3 straight runs with Jordan Mason, Wishnowsky punts another beauty, and it's downed at the Arizona 12. After 3 straight runs with Tyrion Davis-Price, Wishnowsky punts another beauty, and it's downed at the Arizona 3-yard line. McSorley, trying to make anything happen here, throws it deep left, intended for A.J. Green, intercepted by Greg Odom. Odom returns it to the Arizona 13 for 25 yards. On 4th and 7 here, just trying to kill the clock. The 49ers run it again with Tyrion Davis-Price. Turnover on down. Cardinals kneel to end the game. 49ers win 38-13.
And there you have it, guys. The 49ers defeated the Cardinals 38-13. And to be honest, that's a little bit of the theme with this team since Brock Purdy has taken over. He took over in the second drive against the Miami Dolphins, and the 49ers win 33-17. He started his first game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The 49ers win 35-7. He then played the Seattle Seahawks, who's got a great head coach in Pete Carroll, and they always are ready to play. The 49ers only put up 21 points and then also gave up 13. But the 49ers did have an opportunity to score more points in that game as Jordan Mason broke off that big, I believe it was a 64-yard run, and downed himself at the 2-yard line inbounds so the 49ers could just run out the clock. So that was another touchdown waiting to happen if the 49ers were truly set on putting up points. Then after that, they played the Commanders, where they gave up 20. Commanders took a few deep shots against the 49ers, and it might have exposed some things that other teams are now looking at. But the 49ers still won that game 37-20. But back to what I was saying about teams finding what exposed the 49ers, and the Raiders seem to have taken full advantage of that. That game went into overtime, but the 49ers once again put up 37 points and beat the Raiders 37-34. But Jarrett Stidham in that game really did a fantastic job dicing up this 49ers defense. He took deep shots, he was able to scramble, and they got that run game going. So I mentioned a little bit earlier, the 49ers might have just been in cruise control, or they are getting exposed, which is worrisome. But it's Talanoa Hufanga who seems to be the most worry in my mind. Talanoa giving up a lot of big plays, and there was just open spots all over the secondary, and he was biting on routes and leaving guys completely open, and other teams began capitalizing before the pass rush would get to them, and maybe those quarterbacks couldn't get the ball out in time. But the past few games has been a little bit different in that aspect, although Nick Bosa is still a menace, but the defensive line has not been quite as dominant, and our secondary has possibly gotten exposed. But either way, the Niners did win that game against the Raiders, and the next week against the Cardinals, they seemed to clean up a lot of that stuff, and we whooped them 38-13. So hopefully the defense was not exposed. Hopefully it was just a situation where they weren't as motivated. Some guys are getting healthier, and they're just really gearing up for the playoffs. They're not going to put it all out on the line during a regular season game once their playoff spot, a la the tournament, as Kyle Shanahan likes to call it, has already been secured. So now that the 49ers are going into the tournament, we got Pete Carroll, who is a defensive-minded head coach and probably a top 5 head coach in the NFL. The Seahawks had no business being in the playoffs this year. They were a complete rebuild team with Geno Smith, who's was kind of written off, but as he says, he didn't write back. So Geno Smith is playing great ball, and Pete Carroll will have his team ready. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in another segment. But for right now, I do want to talk a little bit about John Lynch and this roster that he's assembled. As many executives and analysts and media all over the NFL have mentioned, John Lynch has assembled the best roster in the NFL. They all say the 49ers are the best overall roster in the NFL. And you know what? They're still winning with a third-string, 7th-round pick quarterback. Now, that quarterback might be special. We're going to talk about him in a little bit as well. The number 1 seed the past few years has not made it to the Super Bowl. That bye week that everybody covets has maybe gotten their teams out of rhythm, and this could be an advantage for the 49ers. But John Lynch trading for guys like Charles Omenihu, Jordan Willis, signing Charvarius Ward, and then focusing on special teams, which I think a lot of people thought was a little strange. The 49ers needed help, and John Lynch didn't go get the pieces that fans wanted, but he got the pieces that he thought we needed. And right now, he was right. The 49ers are a very complete team. Offense complements defense, defense complements the special teams, or vice versa. Either way, this team is rolling on all 3 phases of the game, and it's a very, very difficult task for opponents to try to stop, especially with Brock Purdy emerging now into a confident young quarterback. He obviously knows the playbook, but NFL experience is huge, and unfortunately the Niners can't seem to get that for Trey Lance, but Brock Purdy is getting it right now, and he's going to make it really difficult for the 49ers to pick between him and Trey Lance next year. A lot of the 49er organization, I believe, want to go in the direction of Lance because that's who they gave up everything for, but sometimes you might just have to go with the bird in the hand and not the 2 in the tree. And right now, Brock Purdy seems to be that bird in the hand. Now, Demeco Ryans will obviously be up for a head coaching job next year, and as I predicted in the past, I do think it's going to be the Carolina job, but let's see. Demeco is doing a heck of a job with this defense, but there are some things that stick out to me a little bit, just a couple of comments that Pete Carroll made, that the 49ers don't really try to disguise what they're doing, and that was something that Robert Saleh did a lot of. That he would disguise his coverages, and then they'd go smack him in the mouth. Well, with Demeco Ryans, the 49ers do just seem to have a more talented defense than most opposing offenses. And how do you limit mistakes on the defense? Well, you just line up and play. And I did feel like there were times earlier in the season where we didn't just line up and play. We got burned because we were doing too many things. People were missing assignments. And once the Niners stopped doing that, their defense seemed to really excel. Those were some of the second half adjustments that we made earlier on in the season, where in the first part of the game, the 49ers were just trying to do too much on the defensive side of the ball. In halftime, they go in, they make adjustments, they come out, and they just play straight up. And we would shut them down in the second half. The 49ers, I believe, allowed the least amount of points in the second half of games by any team this season. So maybe, just maybe, Demeco said, okay, let's go ahead and try that just all game and see how it works out. And, well, the 49ers do have the number one defense. So Demeco Ryans didn't need to do too much. Doesn't mean he's not a great leader of men and a fantastic coach. A couple of things I would like to see the 49ers defense do in the playoffs just a little more is get Jimmy Ward on the field more. Jimmy Ward has been a game changer for this defense, and whether he's playing in the nickel or playing as a sub linebacker, which is what I think they should do more of, that way he doesn't come off the field, and especially against teams with 3 wide receivers, I want Jimmy Ward to play that third linebacker safety nickel hybrid. And hopefully that gets him on the field more and will improve some of the 49ers coverage, because they've been struggling with that the past few weeks, as mentioned. But again, the 49ers defense could have just been letting up a little, getting ready for the playoffs, and not really taking those games as seriously as we kind of it all had hoped. But either way, Jimmy Ward is an eraser on this defense, and I hope that he impacts the playoffs the way that we know he can. T.Y. McGill is another player that has really come on strong for the 49ers. What a find by the front office as someone who they just kind of picked up off the street. T.Y. McGill has come in and really been a huge game-changing run stuffer, and he's allowed other players to make the play by eating up double teams, or he himself makes the play. But he, next to Kinlaw or Armstead, has really, really opened up my eyes, and I like what he's done. He's a player that I hope the 49ers bring back next year if we can afford him. And then, of course, Fred Warner, the tone setter on this defense. I don't like that I've been seeing him hit players late recently. Now, maybe it's because he's trying to fire up the defense, knowing that they aren't playing to their full potential, or maybe this is a tendency that I've just overlooked in the past because he's been so great. Or he just misses his running mate, Dre Greenlaw. The 49ers defense did take a huge step back once Dre Greenlaw went down. Azeez Al-Shaair is not a bad player. He's a starter for so many teams in the league if he were on that team. But on this team, he is not a starter, and he is a step down from Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. But Dre Greenlaw, we get him back this week. So let's see what happens. Moving on to Brock Purdy. Look, guys, I don't want to take anything away from the kid because he's playing lights out. His confidence looks through the roof. His composure, he doesn't seem rattled. But there are times in a game where I see the arm deficiency. He doesn't have the strongest arm. And he's underthrowing players, and he's missing some of the routes because the ball isn't getting there, and the ball seems to die on him a little bit. These are things that worry me going into the playoffs when defenses start to get a better feel for how Brock Purdy plays, that I'm worried some of these floaters will get picked instead of dropped or caught by our team, luckily. But Brock Purdy overall has the look of a franchise quarterback, but that arm strength is definitely something that I've noticed. That's just the bad on Brock Purdy. And I don't mean to nitpick him because the kid is playing lights out. He's got amazing quickness. He's escaping sacks. Although there's been a few times where I see him leave the pocket a little too early when there wasn't pressure. And then he leaves the pocket into pressure. And that also has me worried because those are tendencies of a young quarterback. Hopefully he's already grown past some of those things, and those few plays were flukes. But that is something that I've noticed, and I at least want to point it out to you guys as well. Leaving the pocket early, though, big deal, I guess, because those Patrick Mahomes arm angles he's been putting on tape is amazing. That sidearm throw with the guy in his face was beautiful. It has absolutely just been a treat to watch. It was so unexpected when he stepped onto the field as the third quarterback. And I think the confidence also comes a little bit from Christian McCaffrey, because knowing that you have him as a check down is a huge advantage for a quarterback. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see Trey Lance get that advantage. We might get to next year, but right now, Brock Purdy is taking full advantage, and he looks great for doing it. So now let's get to my playoff predictions. I do have the 49ers facing the Eagles in the NFC Championship. But how do they get there? Well, in week 1, obviously we face the Seahawks. And barring any unforeseen circumstance, the 49ers should win that game handily. But the Seahawks, as mentioned, do come ready to play. But either way, the 49ers shouldn't lose that game. I have them advancing to the next round against Minnesota, who should handle business against the New York Giants. So in the second round, I had the 49ers facing the Vikings, while the Eagles face the winner of Tampa Bay and Dallas. And in my prediction, I have that as Tampa Bay. Tom Brady in the playoffs is a different animal. The round 3, I have the 49ers beating the Vikings and the Eagles beating Tom Brady and facing each other in the NFC Championship. Now that's the number 1 seed versus the number 2 seed. So really, this is the best matchup the playoffs could have had to offer as far as the NFC side of things. And this is a game I would be very worried about. We'll cover that in the future because we'll see them there, I'm sure of it. And now the points of victory against the Seattle Seahawks. Pete Carroll is easily a top 5 coach in the NFL. Now, they may not have the experience or the players on their roster to intimidate anyone, but they do have the coaching and the discipline to make even a game that should be a blowout competitive. The Seattle Seahawks aren't coming to lay down. They're showing up ready to play. And Pete Carroll is getting his players believing in themselves and thinking that they can win this game and upset the 49ers. Now, I don't believe they will, but they do. And that's the scary thing. Pete Carroll will have this team ready to play. And Geno Smith, honestly, is having his best year of his career. He's thrown for over 4,200 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. That goes with his 76.1 pass grade, which is very good. But the part that might get the 49ers is his 82.8 rush grade. Now, the 49ers do struggle against mobile quarterbacks. Geno Smith might finally figure out that he can escape from the pocket. In the previous games this season, Geno Smith looked a little rattled in the pocket and he didn't use his legs. Hopefully the 49ers are able to stay disciplined along that defensive line and contain Geno. DK Metcalf is a huge weapon for Geno Smith, and so is Tyler Lockett. They both put up over 1,000 yards, and they combined for 15 touchdowns. Geno Smith is going to find these receivers, and we have to figure out a way to stop them. I believe Charvarius Ward, Mooney Ward, should be locked up on DK Metcalf and follow him all over the field. But that hasn't been the 49ers' philosophy. So I'm very curious to see what the Seahawks try to do on offense and if they move him around. Tyler Lockett's one of the best in the game with those sideline throws. No one has more field awareness than Tyler Lockett. He is the image of toe drag swag. Tyler Lockett will beat you deep. He will beat you short. He will beat you on slants. I expect the 49ers to put Deommodore Lenoir on him if they cover DK Metcalf with Charvarius Ward. Deommodore Lenoir is a good corner. He seems to be in position a lot, but he doesn't have a lot of ball skills, and so he's getting beat by 50-50 balls with receivers that are bigger than him. That's why I don't like the matchup against DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is a huge wide receiver and will attempt to bully guys like Deommodore Lenoir. But Charvarius Ward has shown in the last matchup that he won't be bullied, and he's up for the task. Both receivers for the Seahawks are fast, DK Metcalf being physical and Tyler Lockett being more precise. Kenneth Walker's another weapon on the Seahawks. He's a big-time running back for them who's a rookie this year, so maybe due to the long season, he might be wearing down a little bit, but he's coming off 3 consecutive 100-yard games. Going into the playoffs, he's got momentum. The 49ers did shut him down last time, so I hope they're able to do it again. Kenneth Walker's a player to keep your eye on because he could be the game changer in this game for the Seahawks. But the 49ers, on the other hand, I believe they're going to handle business. Now, part of the reason that they've been scoring so many points is because they've been getting turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. Multiple picks, fumble recoveries, etc. And the 49ers offense has been able to capitalize on those with touchdowns. Brock Purdy is not afraid to throw in the red zone, where it seemed like we were a little bit more conservative early on in the year. However, with all the turnovers on defense, the 49ers offense has been outscoring opponents and looks like a juggernaut. Now, will that continue in the playoffs? I hope so, but nothing is guaranteed, so the 49ers defense is going to make sure that they stay in the game. And while the defense is doing its job, the 49ers offense, I believe, should be more ground and pound, a little more controlled, you could say. Elijah Mitchell is back, and he was a huge piece for this offense when he wasn't injured. But with Elijah Mitchell back in the fold, Deebo Samuel back in the fold, Christian McCaffrey staying in the fold, Jordan Mason coming on, and even a slight emergence from Tyrion Davis-Price, the 49ers running backs should have a healthy rotation and be able to stay fresh all game. I almost anticipate the 49ers to rush for over 200 yards in this one. And if they do, they should win this game pretty handily. I have the 49ers up 28-16. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap it up for us here at the 49ers Golden Ticket. This is our first postseason run, so I'm very, very excited to be covering it with you guys this season. So if you guys ever have any questions, input, or comments, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments section or follow us at 49ers GT on Twitter and hit us up there. As always, go Niners.